All right, thanks, Ray. So now I have the enviable position of trying to put a bow on this day's events. And I'll put on my empathy hat here because I'm guessing that there are some of you out there who feel like you're drinking through the fire hose, right? We've given you a lot of information today, and it may feel a little bit overwhelming. There are some of you out there, though, who are also excited and ready to move ahead, right? And I'm going to guess a big determinant in the difference is whether or not this is your first exposure to the VectorVest system or whether you're already experienced. All right, so I made some feverish notes while Steve was making his presentation because he was generating a bunch of ideas for me to share. So as Ray mentioned, I'm one of the coaches for the Successful Investing Group. Brian D'Amico and I run that coaching service, or that coaching group. One of my promotional presentations, introductory presentations for that group is called the 10-Minute Investor. And the whole deliverable is that you can manage a portfolio in a 10-minute a night routine. It doesn't have to be complicated, and it doesn't have to be a major lift. That's true whether you're doing something very simple as we do in successful investing, or whether you're doing something a little more complicated like we do in our automated portfolios. They can both be run in a 10-minute a night routine. Of course, it's going to take me 30 minutes to talk about a 10-minute routine, but bear with me here, and I'll try to make this as low impact as I can. But the idea here is we want to establish a daily drill, a daily routine. Why? Well, first of all, if I can make that daily routine be at least not arduous, if not, dare I say, even fun, then I'm more likely to do it, particularly do it with persistence and consistency over time, which obviously is what we need to do to be successful investing. So I need something that's sustainable. The second piece of that is we have busy lives, right? Some of us are still working. Maybe you work third shift. So in the daily drill, if we're doing aftermarket portfolio maintenance, executing our drill while the market's closed, I can do it anytime from 4 o'clock in the afternoon Eastern until 8 o'clock in the morning the next day. I can fit that into my schedule, whether that's when I get home from work before everybody kind of settles down, or maybe it's after everybody goes to bed and I can take an extra 10 minutes before I go to bed to run my routine and manage my portfolio. So it's very flexible. I can fit that in anywhere that is conducive to my lifestyle, and again, that I'll do consistently. I like to share this story. I have a friend whose wife used to manage their portfolio, but she was a technical chartist. So every night, he'd come home from work, she'd hand off the baby. Her job, was to manage the portfolio. She'd go in the den, shut the door, she'd run her scans, she'd come up with 200 charts and go through 200 charts every night, looking for candidates. Have you ever looked through 200 charts a night? Don't try if you haven't, right? First of all, I wouldn't even get through 200 charts. It takes too much time. But secondly, I'm looking at 200 charts and I'm making stuff up, right? You get that glazed look in your eye. It's like watching the white lines or driving in a snowstorm, right? You just get the deer in the headlights thing and you stop seeing anything. So by keeping this a manageable endeavor and in a routine where I can build some muscle memory, the system serves itself and it serves me, keeping it simple. So let's talk about kind of the architecture of the system. And I like to break it down into two modalities. The first modality is just assessing what's going on in the marketplace. The second is, okay, what actions do I need to take? So we've been talking all day long about how we want to buy rising stocks in rising markets. So the first thing I want to know is what's going on in the market. Now on our slide, we have 5 bullet points here. But I want you to notice that the second bullet point, didn't mean to click, sorry, watch the daily color guard report video. That daily color guard report, we walk you through the other 3 pieces of the market review on a daily basis. So particularly if you're new to our system, simply go into the program, if I can find it. Do I have that open? Oh, the peanut gallery. I passed it. So either from the home page, if you have the strategy gadget here, once we have updated it, you can link to it here, or if you go to the timing tab, you have the daily color guard report on this tab. Just simply click the link, it opens and plays a video, and lo and behold, we start off with the home page of the software and we walk through all of the bullet points we're about to cover. So you have us taking you by the hand and guiding you through that analysis. Plus there's a couple extra bonuses in there in that we look at some hot stocks for the night. We look at our gold timing study. We look at news for the next day. So it's a nice endeavor. That being said, it's typically about a 10 to 15 minute long video, unless Glenn does it.
Unless Glenn does it.
So my 10 minute a night promise to you is going to be longer if you use the color guard video. All right, so I hope you can accommodate me for that idea. But certainly if you're new, it's a nice way to kind of get acquainted while that video is playing. If you have 2 screens, you can put the video on one screen and click along on the home page and in the market timing graph in particular to kind of get familiar with the tools and practice making the kinds of assessments that we're making. Because we look for some of those divergences, some of those reading the tea leaves kinds of analysis that you might miss as a novice. Eventually, you'll get to the point where you can do that for yourself. That being said, let's back up now and go through the checklist for ourselves. And again, I want to build the pieces before I demonstrate how the process can work. So typically we'll open first to the home page of VectorVest. The home page is a very powerful tool. It kind of gives you the headlines of what's going in the market that day. So the first thing we notice is in the upper left corner, we have the performance of all the major indices today. Everybody's in the red, sharply so, more than 1% in the red. The VectorVest composite, the broad market actually is down 0.64%, where the major indices are down well over a point. One of the questions we often get is, well, why do we use the VectorVest composite, a broad market index, instead of just using the S&P 500? And the answer is, well, because there's 9,000 stocks in our database, not 500. So when you see the S&P 500 and these other indices as a smaller slice of the larger whole, now I can start saying, well, small cap stocks, large cap industrial stocks, right, are performing differently and maybe differently from the broad market. So the VectorVest composite is our broad market index. So I know the broad market, or another way of saying that is the stocks that are outside the major indices actually didn't fare as poorly as did the major indices. Coming to the right, we have our market timing gauge, which is giving us, we call it our stoplight on the market, right? Currently the gauge is in one tick in the red. Color guard is mildly bearish. We give you guidance, and we don't advocate buying any stocks at this time. What does that mean? Well, how about we don't advocate buying any stocks at this time? Well, what do you mean? Well, I mean, I don't buy any stocks right now. The market's down. We're getting red lights in the color guard. The primary wave is down. The underlying trend is down. The confirmed call is down. There's nothing up. We don't buy stocks when the market's down. So the guidance is pretty straightforward. The color guard square below is giving us now 6 days history of that market timing gauge action. So generally, I don't see any green on the color guard, so not much bullishness going on. Majority yellow lights perhaps, so neutral to bearish conditions currently in the market. So as I'm talking you through the analysis, right, once you have that, you can get through this pretty quick. I have a down market today in bearish market conditions. The market timing signals are all aligned to the downside. The MTI has fallen below that level of 0.50 and the buy-sell ratio is well below that level of 0.20. And I did that in about, I had to talk through it, so that's 15 seconds. It's giving you a snapshot on the market. This little mini graph shows the MTI in downtrend. A nice visual representation of how the MTI is performing. What are the best performing stocks? Well, we have this little gadget. It can be VST stocks or Midas Touch stocks. Here are the best performing stocks. Here are the best performing industries. Here are the best performing sectors. I'm getting a lot of information about what's going on in the market right from the home page, and you can arrange this home page to include all of these gadgets and bring to your attention the information that's most important to you. Maybe it's advanced declines, right? Maybe it's a quick list of stocks that you hold in your portfolio, right? Lots of flexibility here. And I don't want to burden you with too much detail, but lots of flexibility. You can put these gadgets wherever you want them, arrange them so they make sense to you. And we also have a little dashboard at the bottom that goes with you wherever you are in the program. So I can always, in this case, I can always get a mini graph of the VVC no matter which tab I'm on within the program. So heed the color guard. The color guard right now is telling me I'm bearish. So I'm not buying stocks. So when we think about this 10-minute routine, how much more do I need to do? Log off. Take a walk. Go hug your spouse. Pet the dog. Right? Do things that add to your experience on this planet. Maybe, if this is fun for you, go take a look at a little deeper and see what else is going on in the investing world. All right, so that's the home page, and that's how we heed the color guard. We've done a quick snapshot assessment of what's going on in the marketplace. And we've already got some pretty good usable information, which has been a theme for today, about what is going on. And by extension, what do I want to do? So by the way, downtrend in market, shorting might be appropriate. The next piece is typically we'll go to the market timing graph. The market timing graph, I just go to a 1-year time frame. I'm going to go to the MTI layout. It's kind of our default layout because this graph now includes the price action of the VectorVest composite, subgraphs for the MTI, the buy-sell ratio, and the RT. Here I can now see visually represented the trends of those indicators we saw on the home page. So instead of looking at their data points, it's pretty easy for me to see that, wow, this price action is trending lower. I'm hitting lower highs and lower lows, right? I'm in downtrend. The MTI, since the market put in its high here, is in downtrend. Wow, we put in a lower low on the price, but we didn't put in a lower low on the MTI or the RT. Am I developing a bullish divergence? Well, the jury's still out. We haven't finished this formation, but maybe, right? And that would be a bullish indication if we are dissipating that downtrend. So we'll keep an eye on that. So that's some of the analysis that we can do by looking at our market timing chart. The next thing we want to do from there is take a look at the VectorVest views. Not from 310 of 09. Let's bring this current. Remember, Monday through Thursday, we have the abbreviated version published. But read it, right? We have, first of all, we explain how the colors are assigned within the color guard. We go through that in the daily color guard report as well. But we summarize the day's action. We display for you 3 weeks history of that color guard information. And what does that tell you? Just look at the colors. If red means stuff is trending lower, green means stuff is trending higher, and yellow means it's kind of in between, we can easily see that we transitioned out of neutral to bullish into more bearish conditions. Moderated a little bit, and today's market action pushed us lower, back lower again, more strengthening to the downside. I can see that without looking at any numbers. Right? So you have 3 weeks history of the color guard there. If I scroll lower, I come to the strategy guidance. You get this every night. Recession fears sparked a broad-based sell-off, and Wall Street closed sharply lower today with 3 red lights in a down-down situation. Prudent investors should not buy stocks at this time. Are you prudent? Log off. Are you aggressive or a trader? Well, then you should play with a bias to the downside. Well, why? Well, because the color guard's all red and all the market timing signals are aligned to the downside. So our bias is to the downside. Which searches are performing the best in this current market condition? Well, on a one-day basis, our Derby tool is telling us they're all bearish. So those are the best performing searches, but the fact they're all bearish kind of confirms the trend, the bearish trend of today's market action. Over the last 5 days, they've been bearish. So not only are we identifying the best performing searches, they're all bearish, confirming the trend in that time frame. Mini Rocket Short is the best performing 5-day strategy. It put up another 8% today. So it's continuing to perform to the downside. I'm starting to kind of, I'm not building a narrative, but I'm building background understanding of what's performing in the market and how I want to align myself with that market condition. From this point, then, I'm able to really determine my outlook on the market. And so this is an action point. I have a bearish outlook. If I don't trade the downside of the market, I'm not worried about taking on new positions. But what do I need to do? I need to check any of my current holdings to update my management of those holdings. Right? So I need to look at the portfolio. So there are 2 ways that I can do this. I can look, if I'm tracking my portfolio in the portfolio tool, right, with a Portfolio Genius, I can match this list of stocks to my real portfolio. So if I took those positions, I can come into the report section and update with the transaction log, there it is. I can go in and adjust the filled price or the number of shares. I can adjust the details of that transaction so it matches my account. If you wanted to have that level of detail in the portfolio. The beauty of doing that is then the Portfolio Genius, when it applies your stop criteria, will calculate for you the stop values that you can actually place with the brokerage. The other methodology that I can use is just using the watch list. As we saw Glenn do this morning, all I have to do is find the Viewers tab, there it is, and go to the watch list viewer. Thank you. What, am I getting tired? Here's Glenn's watch list. So here's my list of stocks. Supposedly or presumably these are my holdings currently. So if this was my portfolio, and obviously I'm holding through down signals, and I was managing these positions, what would I need to do today? Well, if my stop loss was a sell recommendation in the VectorVest system, I've got 3 stocks I'm holding the control key so I can tag them. Those 3 stocks, I need to consider selling. So I can look at their charts if I like to, or if I want to. Notice that if I sell these stocks out of my portfolio, then I'll affect the average value for all the stocks in my portfolio. Right? So this is the average of all the data points for all the stocks that are currently in this portfolio. So by pulling out these values, I'll make incremental improvements to the watch list average. As an example, I'm going to delete those selected stocks, and right now notice I have an RV, RS, RT combination of 146, 110, and 117. 146, 110, and 117. They all improved by eliminating or culling that weakness out of my portfolio. We call that weeding the garden. All of that activity can be done at night. I don't have to do it at 12 o'clock in noon or when I get the alert. I can enter those orders with the brokerage when I get to my regular routine at 10 o'clock at night if I want to. So we're setting up the tools to help us effectively manage the portfolio on a systematic, rules-driven basis. So obviously that process began by having a trading system in place that tells me when to buy, what to buy, and when to sell. I can do that on a manual basis, or I can do it on an automated basis, as Steve and Jerry had just demonstrated. So what does the manual process look like? Well, to keep it kind of right side up, let's just pretend, for the sake of argument, that we actually had a green light in the color guard, that we had our upward signal, whatever it is you're using, and I need to go find a candidate. Well, where's the first place I would probably go looking? Well, in manual mode, the first place I would certainly go looking is top VST stocks. We've been talking about them all day. So I'm going to go to the Viewers tab. I'm going to go to the Stock Viewer. And what would I normally prefer? Well, how about top VST stocks that have a price pattern? Remember VectorVest Simple from earlier today? Price pattern is just going bottom left to upper right, smoother the better, driven by an earnings pattern doing the same thing. So here are my top RS stocks. Let's go there because the market conditions are kind of ugly right now. Let's just graph these guys. Well, too many in there. We'll just do the top 20. Let's try that. So in successful investing, right, we can confirm these patterns visually. We don't need all the power tools. So if that's kind of where you are, that's a great place to start. Build the skills of reading a chart, populating the portfolio, managing the trade on a manual basis. So let's change our layout to VectorVest Simple. Same name, right? So I'm looking for stocks whose price is going bottom left, upper right, smoother the better, driven by earnings rising. Right? We talked about that combination this morning. And I'm going to cherry pick from the list those that have the prettiest graph. That's kind of pretty. Ooh, that wasn't bad. Right? So I go through this process and I find my best candidates. And of course, right now, all these graphs are ugly. But I'd like to see them going bottom left, upper right, and continuing to rise here on the right-hand side, because we buy rising stocks in rising markets. So all I'm doing is applying the rules. So instead of me going to the stock viewer, if I instead went to the Portfolio Genius and it said, hey, buy this stock today, I might look at the graph, confirm that I like the graph, and then go place that order with the brokerage. Done. So what's this process look like? Run through it. Reality would be, I look at that screen, I go, wow, I'm not buying any stocks today, log off. And of course, I've been in that situation for some time now, so I'm not terribly surprised. And I'm happy that I'm missing all the carnage, sitting nicely in cash, or with a couple of positions that I've protected, right, against a downdraft. If I was buying stocks, I'd have to go to the additional step now of either going to the stock viewer, cherry picking my favorite stocks, or my portfolio genius, or my favorite unisearch, and choose my favorite stocks. I like to put them in a watch list. So we'll pretend that this is my watch list again. So these are my candidates for purchase. The next day I make sure the market follows through. The stocks that follow through the best, I buy a couple. Using the things that we learned from Jim to make sure that I am managing my risk. Position sizing, number of positions, applying the stop loss, protecting my 1% to 2% risk threshold. Place those orders with the brokerage, done. Rinse and repeat. So remember I said at the beginning of today that it's all about having actionable information. Information that helps you make better, faster decisions. Have we not just done that? I'm leaning on the power of the VST system to find great candidates. I'm leaning on the power of the market timing system to find rising markets, or at least market conditions that are conducive to what I'm trying to accomplish. I'm using tested stop methodologies to manage my risk and to exit trades when they break down and fail, because I know I'm not going to win all the trades. It's all about putting the probabilities of success in my favor. Doing this daily drill and having that muscle memory makes this a doable thing, and doable for the rest of your life, right? Because ultimately, that's what we're trying to do. So let me look at my notes real quick, because I think I've covered it all. Yes, we're good. All right, so big piece, I just want to make sure that we all knew that when we get those alerts, we can update the trading history or the trading account in the portfolio to reflect reality. All right, but with that, hopefully that eases your anxiety, maybe, if that's what you're feeling, right? That this does not have to be complicated, and with VectorVest, it really isn't. Even if there's a little bit of a learning curve, you can do this. We have a lot of people who do, and you met some of them today. So, our mission has always been to provide the best stock market guidance available anywhere at any price. Hopefully, we have demonstrated to you that we do that, and we've been doing that for over 30 years. So, we'd love to have you be part of the club. All right. Thanks again for your attendance today. Thanks to all of our presenters. And let me kick it back over to Ray to say our final goodbyes.
Thank you, Todd, and thank you everybody for joining us today and taking the time to further your education in the stock market investing. We appreciate having you here. A lot of the support and friendly names that we consistently see over and over again. It was great to have you here again. I also want to say thank you to all the instructors who did an amazing job presenting today and sharing their knowledge and guidance of the VectorVest system with you. A very special thank you to Mr. Steve Chappell, who spent countless hours putting this together for us. And a very, very special thank you to Dr. Bartolito for creating the VectorVest system and having that vision and allowing all of us to retire with the peace of mind, with having the knowledge we need to make investing a lot easier, simpler, and more profitable for us. So thank you again.